Congratulations, because you've made it to the final section of this course. We reviewed many different topics all throughout this course, but let's specifically talk about what we reviewed in this section. We talked all about cybersecurity and how important it is and the various cybersecurity concepts. We first covered some more niche cybersecurity concepts, how we can secure devices through proper cybersecurity. We covered password best practices and also how we can manage passwords through something like a password manager. And we talked about encryption basics. Remember, encryption is how we can actually protect our files and data in the event that someone gets a hold of them. If someone did get a hold of our files, in order to get through the encryption that we have on our files, if we encrypt them, they would need some sort of key. Next, we talked about wireless network security, and we talked about this in earlier sections as well, but it's important that we lock down our wireless devices like our routers and our Wi-Fi using proper wireless network security best habits, like changing default passwords on a router, making a strong SSID and changing it from the default SSID, and making sure that we have either WPA2 or WPA3 encryption. Now let's go into the exam tips portion of this section. First here we have CIA or CIANA, and this is where we match the scenario, not the word. Here we have confidentiality, which helps keep our data private, and we do this in order to avoid data leaks. Next up, we have integrity, and this ensures that data is not changed. You should worry about data being altered with integrity. Then we have availability, which is the A portion of CIA or CIANA, and availability talks about a system being accessible, how much of an uptime it has. Worry about downtime. So when some things are down, that's going to affect availability, and that also affects uptime. So when things are down, that is a clear symbol that we're talking about availability. Then we have authentication, and this is something that we have, something like a password or something that we are, like for example, a facial image scan or an iris or a retina scan. These are all different examples of authentication. And remember, we also talked about two authentication as well. Then we talked about non-repudiation. This is the N portion of CIANA, and this is so people can't deny their actions. We use this to prove that someone has done something. Number two here is threat versus vulnerability versus risk. Know the differences between these three terms. First, with threats, these are something that could cause harm. Vulnerability are any sort of weakness that a threat or someone else or a bad actor could take advantage of. And risk is something that could either occur or has occurred. Usually we discuss it through likelihood plus impact being what the risk actually is or how serious it could be. Here's a shortcut. If there's no weakness, usually there's no risk. Outdated software or outdated hardware or things not being properly secured, those would be vulnerabilities. Next, we have AAA, and we have authentication, the first part of AAA. This is who you are. Authorization, this is what you can do. And accounting is what you actually did. If any questions ask about logging, tracking, things like that, that's accounting. If things are asking about different types of roles and permissions and rights and being able to have access to do something, that's authorization. If things are asking about authentication, well, that would be something asking about, for example, how you actually can get into something. So do you have a password? Do you have a passcode? Do you have a pass key? Do you have a USB key to get in? Whatever it is. Fourth is least privilege beats convenience. Users, no matter who they are, should have minimum privileges in order to do their jobs, and that includes IT staff as well, and even senior level executives. Next, we have 5, which is patching. This can fix problems that you can't see. So patches are our security fixes. Updates are usually patches and or new features. If attacker exploits known bugs, the system might be unpatched. Never delay patching in exam answers unless you're told to. So very rarely will you have a reason on this exam to delay patching, but for the most part, you won't get any major scenario-based questions. Just understand patches for security fixes, updates usually provide features. Updates can sometimes provide patches as well, but mostly updates are for features. Number 6, antivirus and firewall. Antivirus stops malicious software like viruses and malware. So what prevents things from spreading on a network? That would be a firewall. If something is already on a device and it's some type of malware, some virus, something like that, then antivirus would be the proper tool in order to get that malware off that device. Number 7 is social engineering. And this is a major threat vector or vulnerability in many companies. Social engineering is a people problem. Remember, no hacking tools are needed with social engineering, and social engineers bank on using fear, urgency, trust, curiosity, and also masquerading as someone they aren't. Training and awareness are by far the most common two forms of defense. Many organizations make every employee in a company do some sort of training or awareness. That's very very common. If an attack targets humans, don't put technical tools unless there's only technical tools options. Remember, social engineering, it's very powerful, it's non-technical, and it's mainly used to trick people. That's social engineering if you see it on the exam. 8 and last is password security being about damage control. Password factors, for example, length. Length is how long a password is, and generally we have complexity as well. Complexity is the different types of, for example, the different types of letters you're using, the different types of numbers, and the different types of special characters. Some passwords have mandatory lengths, some have mandatory complexity or complexity characteristics that must be met. MFA, or multi-factor authentication, also known as two-factor authentication or 2FA, protects in the event that a password is stolen. So MFA, if someone tries to log into your account, they have your password and your username, they try and log in, it might send a code to your phone, and even though they have your password, they can't get in. Password managers are useful because they also help you store your passwords and they stop password reuse. Remember, one of the biggest problems with passwords is that many people tend to reuse the same password over and over and over and over again, and hackers can find a password for one website and then use it on almost every website that you have. So just keep that in mind. Again, if a password is stolen, MFA can help save you. It's that second point, it's that last line of defense where if someone gets your login or your password, MFA might be able to save you in that regard, as long as they don't have, obviously, your MFA device or your two-factor authentication device or application. Let's go into our practice questions now. And if you remember these from previous sections, the way we do this is you're going to go through each question one by one. After you pause this video, you're going to write down your answers. And then after you're fully done, after you've read each question, selected your answers, go ahead and unpause this video, and then I'll go ahead and give you the right answer. So go ahead and pause the video now. And once you come back, we'll start by answering each of these questions. All right, number one, which CIA principle focuses on keeping data private? That is going to be C, confidentiality. Now, you might be wondering, why is it not integrity? It's not integrity because integrity means, has the information been altered, or is this the legitimate information for whatever we're dealing with? For example, for a file, we know that integrity is intact because there's no other people who have modified the file. But confidentiality focuses more on keeping data actually private. Let's go to number two now. A system is online, but users cannot access it due to downtime. Which principle here is being affected? That is B, availability. Anytime you see these words of downtime or uptime or something being down, that has to do with availability. Availability covers any type of thing being down. In availability as a term in CIA, the CIA principles, it refers to just something being either available or not. So whenever you see downtime or uptime, relate that immediately to availability. Number three, an outdated operating system is best described as and that is going to be C, or vulnerability. Because the outdated operating system hasn't been hacked yet, and because no one has taken advantage of this quite yet, this would be considered a potential vulnerability. Now, it could also be considered a potential threat in the event that the outdated operating system was hacked and then someone used that hacked operating system to get into the network. That could be a potential threat scenario. But in this case, the reason why it's a vulnerability is because all it is an outdated operating system that's out of date, that hasn't been attacked, or it hasn't led to anything that could potentially be a security scenario yet. Moving on, same thing for 4, 5, and 6. You're going to go ahead and pause this video now, write down your answers, and when you come back, we'll resume and go over each of these questions. All right, now that you're back, let's dive into it. Number 4, a user clicks a fake urgent email asking for login details urgently. What type of attack is this? So this is an employee or a user within a company. They're clicking a fake urgent email. This is one of the key words, urgent. Asking for login details, login details. What type of attack is this? This is a social engineering attack because this email is from another person and they're trying to trick this user or this employee into giving up their login credentials. So again, that's going to be C, or social engineering. Number 5, what protects data on a laptop or device if that laptop or device is stolen? That's going to be C, disk encryption. So if we have company data on a laptop, or we have it on a device, or even if we have personal data, no matter what data it is, if it's on a laptop, computer, mobile device, whatever it is, what's going to protect that data from being leaked is from the device and being encrypted. And usually that's done through disk encryption, because even if someone takes apart that laptop, rips out the hard drive or the storage device, and plugs that storage device or that SSD or hard drive or whatever it is into another computer or into something else, they won't be able to read the data because it's encrypted. So that's one major thing. Make sure you understand, for local devices like laptops, computers, smartphones, tablets, things like that, we protect data through actual disk encryption on the device itself. You could even possibly see this on the exam as device encryption, disk encryption, encryption in general. And that's completely fine, but the most precise is disk encryption or storage encryption, because that's what we're talking about as far as where the data is actually being stored on that local laptop. Sixth and final question, which security control helps ensure that users are only granted access needed for their job role? So this is a security control, and it's ensuring that people are only granted the access needed for their job. That is going to be B, least privilege, or you could call it the principle of least privilege. Congratulations, you made it to the very end of this course, and at this point, we have no further material to cover. We have one more section left in this course, which is the next section, and that's going to be the last video where we go through and officially conclude this entire course. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube or on Udemy, you can go out to our website, teachmeit.co. Once again, that's teachmeit.co, and you can access this full course completely for free. And we have practice questions, we have different types of PDF resources and things like that. If you're watching it on YouTube or Udemy, you're seeing a little bit of a less advanced version of the course, but either way, let's go on, let's move forward. And if you haven't already, make sure that you start studying, you start reviewing, and you sign up for the Tech Plus exam. That way you can take it and get your Tech Plus credential. I'll see you in the next video where we're going to go ahead and conclude this entire course.